Now, one political party in this country, and there are only two, Republican and Democrat, they're minor ones, but it would take billions of dollars, and I mean maybe 10 billion to really get a third party up and running. So the one political party that's established is falling apart, and that would be the Democratic Party, absolutely evaporating before our eyes. What an interesting historical time. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. Let me back it up. Not since the presidency of Jimmy Carter has the Democratic Party been so weak. A controversial man like Donald Trump sweeps into office, not because so many Americans love Donald Trump, the MAGA people do, but because Joe Biden and the Democratic Party were a disaster. Biden, the second worst president in our history. I document that in Confronting the Presidents. So a new poll by the Associated Press, 1,175 adults, the sample is fair. Question, do you have a favorable or unfavorable opinion of the Democratic Party? Favorable, 36%. Unfavorable, 55%. Are you kidding me? That is a disaster. Now, this week, with Donald Trump having some success economically in the Gulf, and the stock market coming back to where it was before Liberation Day, the Republicans have regained some momentum. And the Democrats don't know how to counter that. I think that's an accurate statement. But even worse is now that the administration of President Biden is beginning to be exposed. And all of these books are coming out saying that the Democratic Party knew Biden was challenged mentally. His acuity was declining. They lied about it. So did the media that props them up. Everyone was lying. Now, the most powerful Democrat in the country right now is Senator Charles Schumer. Roll the tape.
I'm interested to know whether the man that you saw sitting there on that couch on that day, you were in there, you saw him up close and personal. Did you really not have any idea that he was not fit to serve a second term?
Casey, we're looking forward. We have the largest Medicaid cut in front of us. We have the whole federal government at risk.
You're facing all of this because you lost a presidential election. And is that not Joe Biden's responsibility for deciding to run again?
We're looking forward.
That's it?
That's it.
All right.
That's embarrassing. Right? That's embarrassing. We lied about it. Our entire party did. But now we're not going to talk about it. Why we lied to the American people. I mean, that's one of the worst sound bites I've ever seen. Okay. So enter the media, which propped up Joe Biden. There's a question they did because they hated Donald Trump. Now there's a book coming out by CNN's Jake Tapper, who was one of the proper-uppers. Hates Trump, okay? And used his position at CNN to put Biden in a favorable light. Now he's got a book saying, oh, no, Biden was compromised. Okay, Jake. I mean, who would buy this book? So let me give you two examples of what Tapper did in the past. First one is September 8th, 2023. Go.
Right. He's sharp physically. I mean, mentally.
Yeah.
I think the question is physically, right?
Right.
More so?
Right. Well, and then how do we ask that question? So everybody slows down as they age, and he maybe doesn't have the stamina to do the type of public appearances he would have done when he was 70 or 60. But does that mean that he doesn't have the stamina to do the job? I mean, I don't think there's like a simple answer to these questions.
I assume you think he's sympathetic and well-meaning. He's 81, and his memory, it doesn't seem great. It's not horrible, but I don't understand the outrage.
He doesn't understand the outrage. Okay. And so then Biden gets exposed and the Democrats lose, and then Tapper writes a book saying, it was a cover-up. But not Tapper. Although he did, to be fair, say something today about, well, maybe I could have done a better job. Yeah, maybe. Boy, oh boy. All right, finally, the Democratic Party continues to do what got it in trouble: push propaganda. Now, I'll give you two, okay? So this gutter plane controversy is, the media is pushing this, and the Democrats are on board. This is terrible. Trump shouldn't take the plane. And one of the reasons that the Democrats say Trump should not take the plane is because Qatar supports terrorists, Hamas in particular. Well, that's not true at this point in history. Roll the tape. If you know what's happening over there, and I do, all of those Gulf states are pumping in billions of dollars to the quote-unquote anti-terrorism programs. All of them. Now, last night on News Nation, I had to chastise our pal Leland Vittert, who told me that Hamas is still living in Qatar. That's not true. Okay? There's not one big Hamas guy in Qatar. Not one. Okay? So all of this media stuff that comes out and people believe it, it's just not true. Now, how did the Democratic Party and the media, some of it, get a hold of Hamas is living and being harbored in Qatar? They did that because Qatar allowed Hamas big shots to negotiate the hostage release with American and Israeli diplomats in Qatar. That's how Hamas got there. Here's the foreign minister. Go.
But what I can tell you very clearly is that the office of Hamas in Doha was created for the sake of the mediation process. Obviously, when there is no mediation process, the office itself doesn't have any function.
All right, so that because Qatar allowed the negotiation to take place, Hamas representatives came, and that's how the media and the Democratic Party threw that in Trump's face. Oh no, they're fostering terrorists over in Qatar. Now, I don't trust any of those Gulf states. None of them. I don't trust Saudi Arabia. I don't trust Emirates. I don't trust Qatar. I mean, to me, they turn on us like that. But right now, they like Trump because Trump is going to dismantle Iran. And they are pumping billions of dollars into helping the United States neutralize Iran. And that, of course, helps Israel. That's what's happening. But you would never know that listening and reading to the U.S. media. Second example, and this is even worse. Okay, the big Medicaid cuts. You're going to hear this 10,000 times. Oh, Trump's cutting Medicaid. Oh, ladies are going to be thrown out on the street. Babies aren't going to get Medicaid. Okay, here are the facts. You want to be ready for the facts. In the past 10 years, Medicaid, which is money provided by the states for poor people to have health problems confronted and children's health insurance, the past 10 years, it has increased 13%. In the last 10 years, federal spending on Medicaid has increased $117 billion. That's a lot of money. The Republicans in their budget bill want to cut, $880 billion over a 10-year period. 10 years. That's $88 billion a year, out of the existing system by inserting a responsibility clause called community engagement. They're not cutting the program so that old ladies and unwed mothers get thrown off. They're saying that if you are going to get free health care, that includes some portions of Obamacare, that you have to work if you can find a job, and if you can't, you have to look for a job. And if you can't get a job, you have to do community service. Now, who opposes that? Not for women with young babies, they can't do that, But it's for primarily young men who can work and some women, single women, who can work. Do you oppose that? What American would oppose that? So the layabouts and the drug addicts are supposed to get free medical care and they don't even care about getting a job? That's what this is all about. But you'd never know it by listening to the Democratic Party. Roll it.
Let's be clear. This is not a health care reform plan to improve our health care system or lower costs for families and patients. Nope, Republicans are looking to dismantle the basic Medicaid program to help tax cuts for billionaires.
And this is all being done in service of trying to provide a massive tax break to MAGA billionaire donors like Elon Musk.
Okay, so if you want to believe the Republican Party wants to reform Medicare in the sense of asking for people to look for work or do community service because they want to help Elon Musk make more money, then you're a nitwit. Beyond a nitwit, you're a moron if you believe that. But that's what the Democratic Party is peddling. Okay? So when you add it all up, when you see the massive distortions and what they have and what they're grabbing onto, instead of saying, yeah, I'd like to reform Medicaid too, we should have a community engagement there so that the taxpayers aren't ripped off. We're for that. They're not for it. They're not for it at all. They want a massive thing. Now, let's get to the tax cuts for the rich. So you just heard Congressman Jeffries, the Speaker of the House, say, all right, there are no new personal income tax cuts in the proposed bill. It's simply an extension on the personal front of what Trump passed in 2017, because his 2017 tax bill runs out this year. That's all. It's not slashing my income tax rate. I stay the same. And I'm paying a lot of money to federal, state. Lot. Big. Okay? Now, there are some provisions in the bill that raise deductions for estate taxes because so many farmers are losing their land because they can't pay the estate taxes. They're too high. So then the Republicans are want to raise that estate tax. That's true. Do you oppose that? Remember, estate, you already pay tax on that money. And there is some help for business. And it's complicated. But there's no personal tax cuts for the rich. But that's all you hear. Go.
You're going to throw over 13 million people off of Medicaid in order to pay for tax cuts for the rich.
They're doing this for tax cuts for the rich. They're doing that for tax cuts for the rich. If you actually take away tax cuts for the rich, what is a punchline for the Democratic argument?
They want people focused on their economic needs. They're not interested in tax cuts for the rich.
I think that if the rich.
All right. So the Democratic Party, to sum this talking points memo up, and I'm sorry it was so long, is, okay, they don't want any reform for Medicaid. They want anybody to get it, and you don't have to look for a job. You don't do community service. There's no personal income tax cut, yet they say there is over and over and over and over because the Republicans want to give more money to Elon Musk. Okay? There's no Hamas presence in Qatar to speak of. Okay, but they say there is, and that's why Trump is betraying the nation by considering taking the plane. How much more of this can we absorb? And that's the memo.